the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, please get your hands together for Mr. Michael Moe.
Wow. And for those who didn't know, the singer for the national anthem is Kevin, Jeannie's husband, which was just spectacular. Give him another hand for that, because that was amazing. So for those I haven't had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Mike Moe, and I've had the privilege of being on the CER board for a number of years and knowing Jeannie from literally the beginning 25 years ago. What's exciting, and tonight is an incredible night. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. But it's a night of celebration. It's reflecting on 25 years of incredible achievement, but it's also looking at the next 25 years. And what we talk about at the CER board is, while I think we're proud of what's been accomplished, there's so much more to do. And so we look at the next 25 years of really exponential impact. And what does that mean for the future of CER, and how is the organization structured, and what are we doing to really make the kind of difference that is so critical, not only to the future of our country, but for society overall. So tonight we're celebrating a number of amazing people that have really changed the landscape for education in America and really the world. I also particularly want to note my partner of 21 years, Deborah Quazzo, is being recognized tonight, so I want to give her a special shout out if I can. But the people, they're all friends, and they're all people that have such a passion and drive to make a difference in the lives of children and people. And it's really, I think it's important that we reflect on that and we celebrate those accomplishments tonight, and really set ourselves forward for what we're going to do for this exponential impact looking ahead. So with no further ado, it's my true privilege to introduce our host, the founder and CEO of CER, Jeannie Allen, and who's my great friend. And I'm going to... So you're going to give her a much bigger ovation after just one more comment. So Jeannie and I have been friends for literally 25 years. And I am number one in the Jeannie Allen fan club. And one of the things that has been particularly important about our bond is we share the same birthday. In fact, we thought for many years we were born not only the same day, but the same year. And then I realized at Jeannie's 50th birthday party, that wasn't quite true. But for both Jeannie and I think when we look at this next 25 years, it's, you know, it's time to make things happen faster. And I think we're all about making big change, and there's nobody who's a more powerful force than Jeannie, and I want you to give her a huge hand to celebrate both today and what the next 25 years is going to look like.
Thank you, Michael, and good evening, everyone. I am so glad you're all here, and I'm delighted you're having a great time, but you can't scare me. I have 4 children, and so if you talk, I'm going to have to do something. So many of you were here today. Some of you were not. And so for those of you who are at the CER event, our Silver Anniversary Summit for the first time, welcome. You might be at the Academica table or Charter Schools USA or Kaplan or CAO or any number of our great friends in the room. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We did a lot of very hard work today. And essentially today we were doing the work of paving the road to innovation for One America so we can finally get to the business of helping ensure all of our children, all of our learners at all levels have access to the great opportunities they need, which so many of you in the room are providing. So that is our quest. That is why we're here, and that is why it's important for us to start shouting out 25 years. It is not about us. It is about you, and it is about building that new road, much the way that Route 66 was once built 56 years ago to open up the world to the communities that were once disconnected. So we are connecting the dots. I am so happy that you are here also because we are paying homage to 7 incredible individuals who helped us pave that road starting back in 1993. And we were just beginning, and I want you all to kind of like, I'm just gonna tell you, I kind of think in analogies, and they're kind of odd, but I think about meals a lot. I'm Italian. And I think about we have to set a table so that we all can move together. And so this is kind of your appetizer, why we're here, in case you don't know us. And if you do know us and you haven't heard this before, you're just going to use this in your other speeches. So we started out in 1993, and by 1998, cue slide, please, we were celebrating some of the earliest pioneers in education reform. Many of you are in this room. We had Howard Fuller. Well, Jerry Hume, our founding chair, is giving an award to now Congressman Dwight Evans, Democrat from Philadelphia, who at that time was a state legislator. Bill Manning from Delaware was the head of a school board. Michael McCowan started something called Mathematically Correct because he was sick and tired of bad math curriculum. Laura, can't remember her last name, from Missouri, who started the charter movement. Howard Fuller and Leah Vukmir, who's actually running for the Senate right now. And at 5, we were just beginning, and these were the people who we were following around the country from states like Wisconsin and California and Delaware and Pennsylvania who were paving the new road on the way. And then 5 years later, we celebrated 10. So hard to believe. And we had this amazing orchestra from KIPP, and Governor Bush, who was with us today, was there. We also had the most amazing person who actually was formative in my life. Next slide, please. The late John Walton, who for so many in this room took the chance. You know, Stephanie, who's our awesome event director, by the way, tells me the story on our 10th anniversary. It was black tie. It was the Four Seasons in Washington, D.C. John Walton had taken a chance on CER and said, oh, you know what? The heck with it. Who cares if you got a business plan, a strategic plan? You're doing good work. I'm going to write you a check. By the way, that doesn't happen anymore. So he was keynoting, and he was actually giving Governor Bush his award. And John Walton, who for those of you who don't know is the son of the late Sam Walton, walked in and looked at Stephanie, who was working for us that many years ago, and said, Stephanie, excuse me, my name is John Walton. Do I need to get a black tie? And she said, no, Mr. Walton, you can wear anything you want. So Arnold Schwarzenegger actually made a surprise appearance at that as well. So then we celebrate 13 because we're kind of different, and we decided we were born on October 13th, so we're going to celebrate 13th anniversary. And we paid tribute to 13 legislators who dare, 13 advocates who care, 13 leaders who share. And we gave, this was Teresa Lubbers, who has helped create the charter school law and school choice in Indiana. Let's hear it for Indiana. And John Stossel keynoted, and our dear friend Giselle Huff, who many of you met today, was there. And it was just another room, and many of JC and John and Chris Whittle and Howard, and so many of you were there, and it was amazing. And in between, we were doing the work, and we were just coming together and going, oh my gosh, we got to take another break. What are we doing? How are we doing it? Where are we going? And then we celebrate 18 because we decided we just have to do something really fun and be an adolescent and have a party. So we had the Rockin' Reformies. And we gave awards to people like Steve Klinsky, who went on to create Modern States, and John Fisher and Eva Moskowitz, who many of you know. And we performed a concert with education reformers, with Jonah Shartuk, who runs an organization in New Orleans, helping leaders in new schools. And then it was 20, and we were celebrating 20. And we interviewed Lisa Keegan, one of our amazing honorees, and Jean Hickok, who both were state superintendents once upon a time. And we were so happy to have Michael Moe, who also got an award that night. And then something happened. We had another amazing awardee, and I just want you to listen to a couple of his remarks. Bill Bennett was my first real boss as education secretary in 1983. And he's one of the most erudite. You may not have the same political views, but he is literally one of the most erudite people I think I will ever meet. And when I was thinking about how to shape these, what were supposed to be really brief remarks, and teach you all a little bit about where I want to go and see us all go in the future, I just said, let's just listen to a couple of minutes of Bill Bennett.
How can we advance today? How can we move the ball today? How can we get something done today? And that's the important thing, is to move the ball, because to do it in the right way, for the right reasons, for our children, is ennobling. And why is that so important? Because with all the disputes, all the things that are going on, this remains the fundamental question. The greatest philosopher who ever lived, Plato, understood this. It's what the Republic's about. There are really only two questions, he said, in a society. Who gets to teach the children? And what do they teach the children? Those are the two questions that will determine whether society will survive what it is and become and remain what it should be.
Who gets to teach the children, and what should we teach them? Do we teach them the arts, like this amazing band that represents 4 charter schools in the area tonight? Do we teach them about civic society and civility? Do we teach them history, great books? Do we make them prepared to go out in the future? How do we do it? Where do we do it? When do we do it? And do we do it in a way that truly commands the best of all we have across all of our approaches, all of our organizations, all of our tax statuses, all of our politics? Can we pull that together? At 25, like Michael said, this is about exponential impact. CER wants to continue to make a difference in your lives and have you make a difference so we can support and advance this for all kids, all learners at all levels, K through career. I am so happy you're here with us to celebrate. We are here to join with you. Please enjoy your dinner. We'll be back to you in just a couple minutes with more of our program. Thank you so much for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is always my distinct honor to welcome now to the stage Howard, when he talks, people better listen, Fuller. Dr. Fuller.
So good evening. Good evening. So it is my task to talk over all of the people who continue to talk. And my task is to recognize a couple of people that are very important to the movement that brings all of us into this room, or at least a part of the movement that brings all of us into this room. So the first person that I want to recognize, and he's not able to be with us this evening, is Joe Nathan. Joe Nathan is, as many of you know, from Minnesota. Joe was a part of the initial group that talked about creating what we now know as charter schools. So it was him and Ember and Ted Coldery and all of those people in Minnesota that helped pass the first charter school law back in probably 1990 or 91. So I just want to recognize my good friend Joe Nathan, and even though he's not here, I wonder if all of you all would join me in giving him a round of applause and congratulations. The second person that I want to introduce is someone that I have a great deal of love and respect for. Tell you a quick story. I was appointed by Governor Tony Earl to be the head of the Department of Employment Relations for the state of Wisconsin. One of my responsibilities was to be in charge of affirmative action. And when I was appointed, they asked the ranking Republican from my committee, what did he think about the appointment? And he said, this is putting the fox in charge of the hen house. Now, I was from Milwaukee, he's from Elroy, hen house. We didn't have no hen houses in Milwaukee. So when I got up there, to Madison, one of the first things I did was to go by his office and say, hey man, you don't even know me. You're talking all of this talk. I said, but just in case you decide to come down to Milwaukee, I bought him a hat. It was because I didn't want him to come down to Milwaukee with a tractor hat from Elroy. So, and I got to know him, and every time I got ready to bring some legislation before the committee, even though I know he was going to vote no, because his nickname back then was Dr. No. And so I knew he was going to vote no, but I wanted him to at least know what he was voting no on. So I used to go and prepare him for every committee meeting, and that's how I got to know him. That's how we became really close friends. And I can say that without Polly Williams and without Tommy Thompson, we would not have had the Milwaukee Pro-Choice Program in the state of Wisconsin. And so it is with a great deal of pleasure that I was getting ready to get to that. But I appreciate it, Jenny. I know you thought I forgot, but I really didn't. But, it's Jeannie, it's her thing, so whatever. So before we actually bring him to the stage, there's going to be a video. See how I did that? Video, please.
Across schools of choice in America's urban centers, it's hard to believe that the idea of vouchers was once so controversial that it seemed almost impossible. But this honoree, our road warrior, broke conventional political lines to create the nation's first parental choice program in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His partnership with the late Annette Polly Williams, a self-described Black Panther, and together with civil rights activist Howard Fuller, would withstand court challenges and set the Badger State on a forward course. Thompson also ushered in other innovations, from charter schools to online learning, university lab schools, and rigorous reading instruction mandates. Thompson's famous Welfare to Work program was also bipartisan and adopted by President Clinton. Governor Thompson is an avid Harley rider, but whether on or off his hog, Tommy Thompson is a true road warrior for quality education in America.
So please join me in welcoming Tommy Thompson to the stage.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before I get to Howard, I want to take this opportunity to thank Jeannie Allen. She's been my friend for 25 years and then some. And today I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of you at a seminar. And I said what we really need in this country are leaders. And Jeannie Allen, you epitomize the definition of leadership. I salute you, and I thank you so very much for inviting me here. I apologize to you, to the group that I have to leave. I know I screwed up your program, Jeannie, and I know how much that irritates you. But I had a very close friend who was dying of cancer, and he decided to end his life. And I have to go back to be with the family in the morning, so I have to leave as soon as I get done speaking. And I hope you understand that I am extremely loyal to my friends and to my appointees, so I feel it's my responsibility to be with the family tomorrow. Howard Fuller. Howard Fuller is bigger than life in a lot of respects, but I know him as a friend. Howard graduated as a very talented athlete and a very outstanding human being that always strives for excellence, something really lacking in society today. And Howard and I became friends, and Howard had a reputation of not liking Republicans, so you can understand why I voted no. But Howard did come into my office, and he bought me a hat, which I still have. I don't wear it, but I still have it. It remembers me and reminds me of my friend. He brought Polly in when I was governor. And the only reason that he was there, because he loves children. He loves education, and he loves excellence. And he believes so strongly that everybody can learn given a chance and an opportunity. He and Polly and I discussed education. And Howard walked out and he said to Polly, and I quote, "That guy is more receptive to what we want to do than any Democrat that's ever sat in that office." And we became close. We developed a Milwaukee Choice program. And Howard was the superintendent of schools also of Milwaukee, where he did an excellent job. And we started the first choice program in the country. I salute Polly Williams tonight. She's not with us, but I'm sure she's looking down from where she is and smiling, because that was Polly's modus operandi. And so tonight, ladies and gentlemen, this award I received really is an award for the three of us, and a lot of other ones. But it's Howard, it's Polly, and myself. Two Democrats and a Republican. But isn't that what education should be all about? Should be about Democrats and Republicans coming together Howard always has to have the last word. But then Howard found somebody that was just a little bit brighter and smarter and can best him any day of the week, and that's his lovely wife, Deborah. I thank her so very much, and their lovely daughter, Jackie, who's also here. But tonight, I just want to thank the other awardees, Lisa, John, Brian, Fernando's, JC, and Deborah. Thank them for their excellence. And as I said this afternoon, we need leaders. And when I walked through and listened to the stories of all of you today and this evening, I'm going to walk away from this 25th section, this 25th anniversary, with a much better feeling about the leaders in this room who are making a difference day in and day out. I personally salute each and every one of you for what you stand for, what you're doing today, and what you're going to do tomorrow. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, once and for all. Thank you so very, very much. I also would be amiss if I did not thank my good friend Rod Page, who served. I had the privilege to serve with him in the in Bush's White House cabinet. Great man, great educator. And I also want to thank Governor Roseo, who's here. I went to Puerto Rico and testified in front of the legislature down there on choice. We passed it, but the Supreme Court threw it out, and now Governor Roseo has come back and has passed it again, and I salute you very, very much. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I got to go and catch a plane, but I want to leave you with one thought. I've dedicated my life to try and change things that I feel need to be changed. Education was one in which we started choice charters, thanks to a lot of you, and I salute each and every one of you. Welfare reform, and I was privileged to set up the AIDS program in Africa at the direction of George W. Bush. But my biggest quest right now is to turn prisons into schoolhouses across America. And I strongly believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we can turn prisons into educational establishments. You can make an assessment. It's terrible to what we do today. 70% of prisoners have drug and alcohol abuse. We don't give them the training, and then we let them go after no training, no education, say don't come back without a job. I want to set it up, ladies and gentlemen, so vocational schools, universities, both public and private, come in and help turn those prisons into educational centers. And I want the business community to sponsor these prisoners so they have a ticket outside of jail, and once they matriculate through the system, they will be able to walk out the front door, have a good paying job, and never come back, ladies and gentlemen. I need your help, I want your help, and I thank you so very much. God love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the founder of Friendship Public Charter Schools in Washington, D.C., Mr. Donald Hentz.
Good evening. I seldom feel at a disadvantage, but following the governor, I do. How fantastic that he and Howard and Polly worked so hard to do something so good. The person I'm to introduce this evening, I have his bio in front of me. I can assure you that it was not typed by my staff because it's in 12-point type. And even with glasses on, I can't see it. But I'm honored this evening to be the person to introduce the gentleman who is the chair of the Center for Education Reform. But in his real life, John Hayes is one of the nation's leading social entrepreneurs. He certainly is committed to improving education. He is the founder of Charter Schools USA, and since 1997 as CEO, has built it into one of the fastest growing companies in the US, with over 9,000 employees, educating 75,000 students in 7 states. Charter Schools USA managed schools have produced some of the strongest gains in reading, writing, science, and math in the nation, and especially for minority and low-income students. Today, Charter School USA has nearly 25,000 students on waiting lists. 25,000 on waiting lists, and a 95% parent satisfaction rate. I've known John for a while, and believe it or not, he is one fantastic person. He's smart, he's aggressive, but not just that, he's really fun to be around. And I think that that's hugely important, that he's a full person. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce John Hayes. Jonathan?
Our next honoree knows the challenges faced by mediocre students, as he himself was one. He overcame that less than promising start to become a successful CEO who has made it his life's mission to demonstrate that success is in reach for all students, just as it was for him. John Hayes felt compelled to create policies that would address the deficiencies so many students experience. He also wanted to show that great educators can make a difference when given the opportunity and the flexibility to lead schools. John is the co-author of the charter school law enacted under Governor Jeb Bush and the founder of a successful network of over 70 charter schools across the United States. Long ago, John earned his stripes as a Green Beret, but for decades now he has earned stripes of a different kind, as a colleague and a friend to so many and a beacon of hope to Florida's school children. For these reasons and more, John is the recipient of our Founders Award.
Thank you very much. I don't accept this award alone tonight, and I don't say this just because my wife is here, but I truly would not have been able to build this company without Sherry. So I want everybody to, a little shout out to my wife right here. She, true story, when I started the company, she worked at the school district in Broward and kept her maiden name because she didn't want to get fired because I was opening up charter schools, right? And she brought a paycheck in while I started this company. Fernando remembers those days as well. It's an honor to be here with so many people who deserve many of these awards. And, serving as the CER chairman for the last 3 years, it's been a real honor to work with other board members who are just tremendous. And most boards, you know, the CEO works for the boards. We all work for the CEO, for Jeannie Allen, and we just really love Jeannie. And the truth is that Jeannie and I worked at Heritage together way back in the day and didn't even know each other. She was in a different department, she was a bigwig, and then years later, here we are, and it's just amazing. One little story I'll tell you is that people that don't know. And I don't mean that badly, but some of you tonight are here and you're like, wow, this is amazing. But there's folks here who have been in the trenches. And I can just tell you, for all of us who've been in the trenches, JC and all the other honorees tonight, and many of you, this is not an easy thing to do. This is not something that people would do to make, to do for a business opportunity. This is not something that, if you look back, you would say, this is what I want to tell my kids to do. It's because it's hard. But the truth is that what I try to tell my children, we have 4, and recently we adopted 2 boys from Haiti, is that we want to leave a legacy behind us. We want to do something that, honestly, in life, I don't know about you, but life is short. So I think if we could leave ourselves with one idea tonight, and that is, this is a place, this is a time, this is a way that we can leave a legacy much bigger than ourselves that lasts well beyond our own time. And when we're all gone and we pass it on to our kids and our kids' kids, and they're a part of this education revolution, and when it's not just 5 or 10% of the population, but 30 or 40 or 50%, and eventually 100% of the kids are all taking and with the choice that they need to go to the best school for their option and their opportunity, then we will know we've been a part of a revolution, Chris, that we'll be a part of something that will change the world forever. So thank you very much. God bless you guys. Thank you. Thank you. And I had a shout out. I got a lot of our folks here on our CSUSA team. They're amazing. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I now have the privilege to introduce the governor of Puerto Rico. You like that? See, I'm in Miami. I'm working on it. I'm working. 4 years of Spanish, and that's what I got, right? Before I introduced him, I actually met with the governor and I said, I want to make sure I get your last name correct. And he said, it's Rosalio. And I said, I'm not going to be able to do that. So bear with me. I probably didn't get it right there. But as we all know, over the past year, Puerto Rico has seen its share of real challenges, especially as the island dealt with the aftermath of Hurricane Maria and the need to rebuild. Puerto Rico's governor has obviously been a key driver of that rebuilding process. But even as he deals with rebuilding Puerto Rico from the ground up, and in some places, Governor Rosalio has been a leader in education in his own right. Given the seriousness of Puerto Rico's educational challenges and the bold response that Governor Rosalio has led, we are thrilled that he was able to make it tonight and speak about his efforts to improve education opportunities and innovation for learners the world over. In March of this year, Governor Rosalio led a bipartisan effort to enact a path-breaking education law to address the destruction of education caused by Hurricane Maria on top of years of poor quality education. This law provided for the creation of charter schools and scholarships for those trapped in failing schools to attend schools that better met their needs, including private schools. It also provided for the creation of a new island-wide bilingual curriculum model that prioritizes subjects including math and sciences and decentralizes their Department of Education. It wasn't long, though, before opponents sued to try to stop the reforms from happening. This past August, though, the Supreme Court of Puerto Rico ruled in favor of the law, and the work was able to begin, including the opening of a charter school formed by the longstanding Boys and Girls Club there. Governor Rosalio is a true leader and an advocate for quality education and education reform. We are honored to have him here tonight and to hear him speak and his vision for the future, please join me in welcoming the Governor of Puerto Rico, Ricardo Rosello.
Good. I didn't know if I should wait or let it continue. So that was very good. That was a very good approximation of my last name. Thank you. And that introduction was so good. I kind of feel, number one, that my mom wrote it, and number two, now I don't know what the heck I'm going to talk about now here on stage. But seriously, thank you all for the opportunity to be here. Thank you all for being leaders in education and making important reforms through and throughout that allow us, the ones that are in leadership positions, to see what the best actions for our people are now. Before I was in this position, I used to be a scientist. I used to be a university professor. Then I stumbled, lost a couple of dozen IQ points, and here I am in politics. But the main reason, the main driver for coming into politics was seeing if that fundamental framework of science, thoughtfulness, and evaluation could be applied to politics so that we could start getting different results. Now, I must admit it's a challenging task, but it is a task that's very rewarding, particularly when you're fighting for initiatives that are for the benefit of the people of Puerto Rico, and in particularly for our children. Now, many of you have heard of Puerto Rico and have seen it on your TV screens. Let me take you a little bit backwards in time. In the past 2 decades, Puerto Rico has been marred by economic and fiscal chaos. So we've had a shrinking economy, we've had a lot of people leave the island, and we've had fiscal situations that prompted Congress to impose a fiscal oversight board in Puerto Rico. And even knowing this, I still ran for office, thinking that it was not going to be that big of a challenge. But I ran for office in a commitment to be disruptive. That was my training when I was a scientist. Identify problems and look for solutions that can be game changers. Now, the only way I could do this is by getting good people involved and making sure we had identified some of those challenges. So we did this through and throughout government, but certainly one of the main objectives was fixing education. And in my first 8 months in office, we started working on this effort, and we were sort of primed to give what we knew was going to be a battle, because every time there is the word attached to change in education, there is some resistance. But then, as we were pushing through with reforms everywhere and reform in education, as you're aware, we got hit by not one, but 2 major hurricanes in Puerto Rico. And there was major devastation that occurred. At that point, I had to think in 3 different tracks. Number 1, the emergency response, how we were going to save and help people. Number 2, how we were going to recover. And the 3rd track was how were we going to be rebuilding effectively for Puerto Rico. So after that hurricane happened, it's true, it's a catastrophe, but it's also an opportunity to be disruptive and to change what we had in Puerto Rico. And I want to share with you what my vision of Puerto Rico is moving towards the future and how that ties in very importantly to education. I see a Puerto Rico, as you know, an island that's 100 by 35 miles in the Caribbean, that becomes a place that's open for business and that has a vibrant economy. Number 2, I see a Puerto Rico that becomes the connector of the Americas. I know we're in Miami, and they currently kind of have that title, but watch out. We're coming for you. Because of the proximity to Latin America, because of our cultural connections, because we're part of the United States, it just makes sense that Puerto Rico can become that connector, whether it be diplomacy, economic growth, you name it. Third point is I see Puerto Rico as a platform for innovation, and this is very critical for us. The only path forward towards success in Puerto Rico is our human resource, is how we can train our folks, our kids, and our people to be thinking far outside the realms of normal and try to innovate and moving forward. And lastly, I see Puerto Rico as a destination that offers opportunity to everyone and that becomes the center of what we're calling the human cloud. Now, the human cloud bases its notion on the fact that many of the jobs that are being generated now are becoming geographically independent, and people are starting to choose where they want to live, and they can give their service anywhere across the world. We feel Puerto Rico is this prime location where if we make changes on certain chronic problems, we'll be able to become a place where instead of folks leaving the island and having a brain drain, we can stop that, but we can also open the door for other folks that are not Puerto Rican to come to the island and to have an amazing quality of life and opportunities. Now, again, to achieve that, we need a roadmap, and I still have my scientific bat manners, so I wrote down what my roadmap for Puerto Rico is, right? And it is a roadmap because there are plenty of challenges, but there are amazing opportunities. And it is a roadmap because to achieve those goals that we have for the next 5 or 10 years that I just described, we really need to address a whole host of issues, whole host of structural issues. Of course, we're going to have to rebuild the island. There's going to be money coming to rebuild the island. But if we use that money and if we use all that wherewithal only to build buildings and roads and other infrastructure, and not to make fundamental changes to chronic problems in our society, we'll be back in the same position that we are right now in the next 10 years. So now is the opportunity to make changes. And that is why, after the hurricane, we enacted certain things that would address chronic problems in Puerto Rico. Chronic problems like our energy grid. We have one of the worst energy grids in Puerto Rico, in the world. And now we are having a commitment to make an energy grid that is based on renewables, that is resilient, and that can withstand all of the insults of nature. We're doing that with workforce development as well. And of course, we're doing that with education. And this is very important for me because I just don't see a path forward for Puerto Rico without a world-class education. We just don't have it. So let me paint the picture of what Puerto Rico is, because some of you are in jurisdictions that are already far advanced. But here is the snapshot that I got from our education system when I became governor. In the previous 10 years, we had lost 43% of our student population. We had incomplete faculties in about 35% of our schools. We had high dropout rates. We had a budget that had zero visibility. I mean, no visibility as to what was coming in from the government and what was actually being spent in school. We had parents and children that had absolutely no choice as to where to go and what opportunities to look for. So with that framework, we knew we had a tough task on our hands. And we knew that although the longer-term vision was to think about innovative models and to think about how we were going to teach children, we really understood that we needed to create a framework, an architecture that was going to allow for that to happen first. So that is when we decided to do a education reform that included a whole host of things. It included charter schools that, of course, had your typical resistance, but it also included vouchers so that people would have the opportunity to choose where they could go. It included the creation of the local educational agencies, because in Puerto Rico, the madness of the management was that you had one secretary that would manage the whole of over 1,000 schools and had only her be accountable for it. And we started giving metrics and meaning to what it meant running an education system. Now, as you all have fought these battles, I'm sure you're aware that resistance was plentiful, but the objectives were clear in my mind. I did not want to have schools where our kids had proficiency levels of only 9% of our children coming out proficient in math, or 7% of our children coming out proficient in science, or 46% of our children coming out proficient in our native language of Spanish. That is just simply unacceptable, and that is provoking an enormous divide in Puerto Rico from those that can pay their education in a private school and those that were born in a situation where they couldn't. And with that, with all of my advisors advising against it, we wanted to blaze through, because our thought was that we can do all of the changes in the economy or in healthcare or in other parts, in other segments, but if we don't do this fundamental change in the framework of education, we will have lost Puerto Rico. Thankfully, we have that framework now, and I have to say, I know I'm biased, but we have the greatest Secretary of Education in Puerto Rico, in Julia Kelleher. She couldn't be here tonight, but certainly she has been a phenomenal juggernaut to plow through, make sure that there's accountability, and implement a whole host of these changes. So what has happened now recently? And what are some small victories that we're trying to leverage? Well, challenges, we had plenty. We had to consolidate schools. Reason being, we had 1,000 schools and we had just lost 43% of our population. We were having faculties that were incomplete, and we needed to create economies of scales to do that. Again, probably the hardest part of my job was going to communities and having to say, we're going to have to close down this school. But we kept on doing it because we knew the objective was to give every child in Puerto Rico the opportunity to prosper. We also were able to open the first charter school. And we want to thank the Boys and Girls Club for their leadership and their commitment. We didn't know if we were going to be able to get this showcase school up in time, because of course, as with legislative processes, with the threat in the courts, none of this could move. But as soon as we got that decision, the Boys and Girls Club was able to answer the call, and now we can show the rest of the people of Puerto Rico what the power of having this charter school can mean to the rest of our kids. So no pressure on the Boys and Girls Club, but to be honest, you're doing a great job, and we're very proud to have you. Now there's going to be a few other schools that are already in planning phase this year, and by next year, we plan to open at least 6 or 7 new charter schools all around Puerto Rico so that people can start having that option. Okay, I think that's my cue. One more. One more 30 seconds. Yeah, I'm a politician. You got to give me some bonus points here. There's a lot of things I wanted to say. 30 seconds, I promise. Here's my invitation to you. We're setting up the framework. We need leaders like yourselves to come to Puerto Rico to help us create that model of the future. We have the framework. You have a committed government. With your help, we will be able to make Puerto Rico a beacon of education. I hope you will help us build a better nation and a better Puerto Rico. Intent to spend.
Wow, that was kind of like the Oscars, right? You know, Governor Resello, thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for coming here and sharing your inspirational vision with us. I know I speak for everyone with CER that we are ready to stand with you, and frankly, I think I speak for everyone here that we are ready to stand with you to help Puerto Rico rebuild entirely and its education system. So thank you. Wasn't that amazing, folks? Thank you. Thank you. So for those who don't know me, my name is Dennis Cariello. I'm a very proud board member of CER. I'm also a shareholder in the education law firm of Hogan, Marin, Babbo, and Rose. And this year, I am a candidate for school board in Westfield, New Jersey. Yes, and if anyone wants to hear how it's going, I will be at the bar after the dinner and we can talk all about it. I can't tell you how happy I am that CER is presenting an award to the next recipient. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but I must say he has been a friend and mentor for over a decade now. Almost was my law partner, and that's another story we can talk about at the bar. But I'm just so pleased with my organization that we're awarding our next recipient. And as a result, it is a real pleasure to introduce the person who will introduce the next award. Rod Page has been for school choice for over 3 decades. He's been an education reformer as superintendent of the Houston Independent School District. He ushered in the Houston Miracle through a combination of charter schools, performance pay, and other innovative measures to reinforce the need for market principles in schools. As Education Secretary under President Bush in his first term, he ushered in No Child Left Behind, and for the first time, we had accountability and the data to quantify the challenge that was before us. So with that, I am very proud to introduce Secretary Rod Page.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. Thank you so much. And congratulations for running for the school board. We need more people who make that decision. That's where all the decisions are made. That's where we need leadership. Tommy Thompson talked about leadership. That's where we really needed it, the school boards. It's indeed a pleasure to be here tonight, to pay tribute to someone who means so much to all of us, who's made such contributions to many of the issues that we love and we work for. Tell you what, let's take a look.
It's hard to imagine an individual whose many contributions to education span so many sectors and education levels. Brian Jones served as general counsel in George W. Bush's Department of Education, founded Latimer Education to serve African American students, and provided voluntary oversight of the DC Charter School Board. As president of Strayer University, he transformed a company to focus on the completion of higher education for those who otherwise would have few alternatives. Brian has mentored many and counts his friends folks with political views very different from his own. He has shown all who know him how to be both successful and kind. Brian has been a courageous fighter for his beliefs. and he brings that same courage and determination to his current fight with ALS. We join him tonight in that fight and honor him for his leadership, his fervor, and his courage, which are inspirations to all who know him, with CER's Innovator Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Jones. Brian Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, thank you for this extraordinary honor. It is such a pleasure to be in the room with so many people I admire, respect, like, have worked with, have tried to emulate. And most importantly, of course, Jeannie Allen. Let me, as I think about my friendship with Jeannie and Jeannie's model, it really, I think, begs the question of why the work that we all do matters. And I would say, part of the reason why this work is so important is because it really does give meaning to the promise of this great country. In America, the circumstance of your birth is not supposed to define the limit of your horizon. But for too many people, of course, it does. And so I think of Jeannie and her relentless journey to provide choice and opportunity. And I see a lesson in there. I often think of one of my great honors that Secretary Page bestowed on me. While serving as General Counsel of the Department of Education, he tapped me to co-chair the President's 50th Anniversary Commission on the Brown versus Board of Education case. And for those of you who have studied Brown, you know that there are really 5 cases that underlie Brown. One of those cases, the case out of Prince Edward County, Virginia, involved a high school called Robert Moton High School. And what I always loved about that story was that in that case, it was students who led a strike at their school. They were in a segregated school, and the students said, "No more, we will not accept this." So they walked out, led a strike, which led to a lawsuit, which ultimately vindicated their rights under the U.S. Constitution in the Brown case. And what that really says to me is that the work of opportunity, of education reform, really is at its root a bottom-up movement. There was such wisdom and passion and power in the individual stories of families across this country who want to make that American promise real. And so the work that people like Jeannie have led, and that all of you have taken some measure in, really is about empowering people to seize control of their own fortunes and to lay claim to the promise of this great country, that we all have the right to enjoy the kind of social mobility that America truly stands for. So it is an honor to be in this room with all of you. I'm incredibly grateful for this award. And I say, let's continue to go forward with the greatest urgency, but also the greatest joy in the work that we do. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's give Brian another hand. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I have the distinct honor of presenting your the next awardee. I do have to say parenthetically that I'm glad I'm not giving a keynote with the band over here. I just want to make sure y'all have heard me speak, and that just wouldn't be a pretty picture if one thing I will say before you see the video about Lisa Keegan, there's a lot we can point to in terms of her career and her commitment to children. As Secretary of Public Instruction in Arizona, since that time and even before, she's been steadfast in her commitment to children. But when I think about Lisa, there's one thing that I want to point to that is probably more important than all of the other positions and accolades that she has received. You know, we're talking about Jeannie Allen and CER and the 25th anniversary. For many of us in this room, we've been at it for 25 years. But the thing that stands out with respect to Lisa Keegan is for those 25 years and more, she has been a consistent, uncompromising, unyielding force for children in America. And the reason why that stands out, because 25 years ago, there were a lot of people who espoused some of the same commitments. And 25 years later, many have been co-opted. Now, right now, I'm channeling my Jeannie Allen. Many have been co-opted. It used to be ed reform, and for many, like Miller Lite and Bud Light, is ed reform light. Because a lot of folks who knocked on the door, they really want to be inside the house. The thing I love about Lisa Keegan, she ain't looking to be inside nobody's house until all the kids go in. Lisa Keegan.
It's hard to believe that 24 years have passed since 1994, when Arizona enacted one of the nation's first and most aggressive charter school laws, aimed at correcting the educational inequity that plagues school kids, particularly those of color and of Native American descent in the state. The woman who led the fight was so concerned about the success of school choice that she left a safe legislative seat to run for state school superintendent. That courageous lady is the recipient of our Pioneer Award, Lisa Graham Keegan. Over the next 24 years, Arizona would come under scrutiny for pushing the envelope on educational freedom, personalized learning, and higher standards for all students. That scrutiny showed that Lisa's dream was working for Arizona's students. Lisa's dream has become a reality, making Arizona a beacon for educational success that others are only now beginning to emulate.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Lisa Keegan.
Kevin scares me, man. Thank you all very much. What a blessing to have you do that for me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. This is such a huge honor. Jeannie, thank you so much. Jeannie and I used to sit on conference calls with our babies in our laps, and one of those babies is my son, who's going to be married December 1st to a young woman who now works for Emily Ann Gullickson, who you all know is a force of nature, so keeping it in the family. And my baby girl, who I was pregnant with in 1991, is a teacher in a low-income high school doing fantastic work. So we're blessed by that. And I know Jeannie has these fabulous children who are a credit to their family. So God bless you and those kids, Jeannie. Bravo. Well done, you. This is a huge honor, but I think it's an honor for Arizona. I had the huge blessing of being born in a state that I understand, or working in a state that I understand. And how many of y'all are from Arizona tonight? We had a pretty big contingent here. That's right. And for those of you who don't know, Arizona is now one of the fastest academic gainers in the country. And I think policy work is just getting right in your head and right on the paper what it takes to let the best people in the world do what they know how to do, which is incredible work of helping young people actualize the potential that they're given. It's damn serious work. Damn serious. And so we get up every morning and we keep doing it, and we're blessed to do it. And I am unbelievably blessed to be doing it in Arizona, where we believe in people's potential and their right to do it the way they want to do it, and the right of families to choose schools for their kids. So I want to thank Arizona. I also think in these times that are so divisive, I just want to say a few weeks ago, Emily Ann had a gala event for A for Arizona, and I sat down with my best thinker on these topics, Armando Reese, and many of you know Armando, who started Espiritu schools in Arizona. And his son now did run Espiritu and has now gone to Rasa Development with Tommy Espinosa. And one of the things that Arizona has going for us is that our public charter school movement has always been a shared effort among Democrats, particularly Hispanic Democrats and Republicans and everybody who was interested, and just wanted it to happen. And Armando and I sat down in front of a group of really young people, about 350 of them, to encourage them not to give in to the just silly partisanship that's going on right now, that what education needs is people who believe that there's about 360 degrees of any problem, and you've been given a tiny piece of that, and you've got your perspective, and you should not apologize for it. You should push it as hard as you can, because that's what's expected of you if you have a vision for this. But please understand, you've also got 359 degrees of other people who have a perspective of this that needs to be pushed forward. And your job is also to listen to that and to figure out how you make a whole out of 360 degrees. Your perspective is a piece of that has to be there, but so do those other folks, and you have to work with them. Trying to educate yourself and improve our systems by talking to people who agree with you is just an audience, applause track. Talking to people who disagree with you moves you somewhere, and it moves your kids somewhere. And we need to do a lot more of it, a lot more listening to them, but surely with no apology for the things that the people in this room have been pushing as hard as they can for as long as they can. And it's just an absolute honor to work with all of you who do this for as long as you've been doing it, as we've all been doing it. I've had lots of jobs, but I've only ever had one piece of work, and I will have this work after I no longer have a job as well, and I'm absolutely blessed by it and by all of you. Jeannie, thank you very, very much. Thank you all.
Good evening. My name is David Hardy. I'm a proud board member of CER. And first of all, I want to congratulate all the awardees tonight. What a great job they've all done. What a great couple of days we've had here. I always come back from these things very rejuvenated. I don't know about you. I feel really psyched because you get to see like old friends. Some of them have gray beards. Got to use glasses to read big letters. They're my old friends. But I get to meet new friends, and we see a lot of new and exciting energy in this movement. And We are people who are committed to the movement. We're not participants, right? And you know the difference between a participant and somebody who's committed. Think about breakfast. The egg, the chicken participated. That bacon, the pig was committed. This guy that I'm going to introduce is a committed pig in the school choice movement. And I say that with love. He's established numerous high-performance charter schools. He's been involved in the most successful, one of the country's most successful charter school service and support organizations, a winner of many awards, done a lot of great things for children. In fact, we're going to show this video and show you a little bit about him.
From developing some of the earliest and most creative charter schools in Miami to growing his own teacher base from among their graduates, as well as being a national spokesperson for Latinos and children of all nationalities, this honoree is one of a kind. Fernando Zulueta's innovative approach to incorporating higher education curriculum into his schools has challenged the status quo and conventional wisdom. He even got Pitbull to sponsor his notable Slam Academy. Fernando's drive, passion, and vision have enabled tens of thousands of families to realize the American dream and see their children prepared for success beyond anything they could have imagined. That's why he is the recipient of our Silver Anniversary American Dream Award.
Please welcome Fernando Zulueta.
I'd rather just have the band keep playing. What do you guys think? They're amazing. Give them a big round of applause because they're from Somerset, Bernie's school, and from Doral, but also from Ohio and from Keysgate as well. So these are all charter school mavens. Thank you so much. And I wasn't prepared to say anything. Nobody gave me a memo that you had to be like black tie tonight. And but let me start by welcoming all of you to Miami, the 305, because you had Pitbull up there. And we're like, whatever, how does that go, Bern? I mean, like that. But here, the capital of the Americas, despite all those soon to be taken over by Puerto Rico and Governor Rosselló, who's, by the way, you're an inspiration, a real scientist. I would have wanted to be a scientist, and if I had to do it again, I would have been a scientist, because this is nothing for someone to pursue, for the last 20 years. I mean, it's hard work. And God bless you, because you're doing God's work in Puerto Rico right now. So thank you. And I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Jeannie and CER. You've been an inspiration, and I haven't really been involved with that or with the organization over the years, but thank you, John, for being a wonderful chair in the last couple of years. And Jeannie is a force of nature and somebody I greatly admired at a distance, not knowing her for many years. And then when I got to know her, I found what a wonderful individual and an incredible leader she is. And honored to be part of this event. I'm also honored to have had, folks here today like Governor Bush, who's somebody who I greatly admire, and folks and individuals like Howard Fuller, who I heard speak for the first time, I think about 10 or 12, maybe 15 years ago at one of our conferences here in Florida. And frankly, I was blown away. For me, it was like a religious experience, hearing this man speak. And I'm a Cuban American, so I don't know. For us, it's about emotion. And that's something I like to talk about, that we marvel about these gadgets that we believe are the greatest works of humanity, right? We talked about today, the governor was talking about the iPods and iPhones and all these great things that we do as human beings. But the greatest things we do are works of the heart, because we were emotional beings before we were intellectual or logical ones. And the work we do today, and the work all of you do today, are works of the heart. So, to me, it's a great honor to be among you, and to be honored by you. And it isn't personal. I don't believe, all the work we've done, and we built an enormous, I don't even know. I mean, I ask people, how many schools do we have right now that we work? I really do. And I'm an accountant, and so I should know this stuff, believe it or not. I was an accountant before I was a lawyer, and I'm a lawyer too, so I should be like the guy that knows this stuff, and I used to be. I'm really good with like Excel spreadsheets and stuff like that, but none of that is important when you're just focused on what we do day to day. And so I have to ask the folks we work with, like, hey, how many schools, how many students are we serving right now? Because it's not that, and people ask me, hey, how many schools you working with? I'm like, I don't know, let me ask Adri or, Millie or it's like, I don't know, they got to keep track of that stuff, but it's important to them. I mean, to me, what's important is the work we're doing, and that we're making a meaningful difference, and that the movement that we're all a part of is making a meaningful difference in changing the trajectory of the lives of our lowest income, our most needy people in our nation. And that's the most gratifying part of it. That's what gets you up in the morning. That and working with amazing leaders that I get to work with. So, I mean, to me, it's painful when I'm recognized, because I didn't do any of it. All I did was find amazing leaders and work with them and help empower them to do what they do best. They're the people that help me get up in the morning and fight for what we do. And I'm blessed to be with a whole bunch of them here tonight. And I'd like to, recognize a couple of them at least. It's certainly my wife, Maggie, who's been my partner since the very beginning. And the band, which is really good. But thank you. But guys like, leaders like Bernie, who's the principal of these guys and can tell them to not play right now. Folks like Judy Marty, who's the leader of Matter Academy and was one of the founding principals, along with Kim Gilarte and Eleonora Cuesta at Doral, and Antonio Roca and Victor Barroso, and all the other great leaders that we get to be a part of. And that's what it's all about, especially when you're a Cuban American here in Miami. And by the way, at least 30 seconds of my time was used to just welcome you to our city, because only John and myself are from South Florida that are being honored here tonight. And it's an honor that we're even here. And you're north of the border, so we're in Dade County, he's in Broward County. It's very big, it's an entirely different country down here, for all of you who don't realize that. But, and I know how to say Rosselló, and I know that Puerto Rico, and Rosselló, by the way, is a Catalan name from the Barcelona region of Spain, I would imagine. I don't know if you're going to verify that, but I assume you will. But anyway, thank you so much. It's been a hell of a journey, 20-some years now. But you guys are the folks that make it happen. You're all making the work of the heart and the intangible great works that we have in this great nation, in reforming education and making it and bringing it back to the parents and the children where it belongs. You guys are the ones that are doing it. So please, I'm just like a conduit. You guys are the ones that are making it happen. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome to the stage, singing America the Beautiful, here she is, Miss America Nia Franklin.
For spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Wine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining
Thank you so much. How about that incredible band? And thank you, Kevin, for directing them and for conducting. I would like to first thank the Center of Ed Reform and Janine for this beautiful dinner and evening, and this whole weekend has been incredible. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm so honored and happy to be here. And can we all just give Janine a round of applause? As well as your whole team, really fabulous. I'm so happy to be here and to advocate for the arts. And congratulations on 25 years. Can we get a round of applause for that as well? I'm actually 25, and I'd just like to say I feel like I should have gotten an award because, I mean, it's kind of like 25 years, but it's okay. Maybe next year, 26, okay. So what is the arts, or what are the arts? You can use the term as singular or plural. After all, we are using artistic license here and poetic license. But for me, the arts are the various branches of creative activities such as painting, music, literature, dance, expression, or application of creative skill, imagination, and the visual arts. It may take the form of visual as juniors in high school in their artistic classes, or even in the form of chorus classes. But it may take the form of kinetic energy through a play even, and it can present itself in a combination of ways such as auditory blasts or kinetic energy. So there can be a whole lot of things, even when it comes to a marching band. So because the arts, no matter what form it's taken in, funnels into self-expression, and the arts are an integral part and an invaluable part of education. And education is a process of learning, and the process of learning is heavily saturated in trial and error. Thomas Merton is credited with having stated the following: "Art enables us to find ourselves and lose ourselves at the same time." Although this statement seems ambiguous at first, I believe we can all agree that it speaks to trial and error, therefore lending itself to education. The arts is an exercise in exploration, and when you explore, there is potential to become lost. You lose yourself. And the arts is also an exercise in discovery, and therefore you discover yourself. During the exercises in exploration and discovery, you cultivate aptitudes, sharpen your skills, and you invest in your talents, all in the efforts to become a better person than what you were before. With the stroke of a brush, the painter Bob Ross transformed mistakes into what he dubbed as happy accidents. The ballerina Misty Copeland contends that hard work and perseverance and being open to feedback are what can help you to get to the top without having to step on people. These are reflections that are positive and self-prospering ways to look and engage in life. Truly, these reflections, along with many other innumerable reflections from other artists, would not have been realized had they not indulged in the arts. So, how do the arts benefit students? Many studies, such as the Mozart effect, suggest that the European classical music enhances gene activity and produces dopamine, the feel-good hormone. Therefore, I would submit to you that one benefit comes from the indulgence in the arts, and that's the capacity to bolster one's desire to learn, because music literally makes a student feel good about the challenge of tackling homework. Yet another benefit is that indulgence in the arts is therapeutic. My dad, who is a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma champion, has often proclaimed that when my mom constantly sang to him in the hospital, he actually was able to pull through on some of his worst days lying on that hospital bed. Her melodies were like his lifeline. They were medicinal for him, and the arts can be medicinal. So, with the benefits that I have listed, and I wish that I had more time to list more, why would any school not want to have the arts in their schools? Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Mr. Chris Whittle.
So I have the honor of introducing our next honoree, J.C. Huizinga, the founder and head of one of the great charter school groups in American National Heritage Academies. Deborah McGriff, she taught me the highest compliment when we were working together in Michigan many years ago, and she said, he's not a Mr. Say, he's a Mr. Do. And JC, you are absolutely, you get that high praise. And you particularly get it because you began working in the charter school movement in Western Michigan. And that was particularly hard for two reasons. First of all, it's cold as hell over on that lake. And I remember one night, Deborah and I, we pulled up in Muskegon Heights, which is the big city next to Muskegon, I think. And we got out of the car, and the wind just cut us in half. And I said, how does JC do this work out here? And then the second reason that JC really should be honored tonight is Governor Bush referenced it in his remarks today. I remember I was at an investor conference, and an investor asked a question. He said, well, can you tell me about your competitors? And I said, sir, you don't really understand. We don't have competitors. We have enemies. And in Michigan, there was a high quality of enemies in Michigan. And you put the cold and the enemies together, it's kind of like fighting in the Korean Peninsula in the dead of winter. So JC, you deserve this award, and you've helped hundreds of thousands of children have better lives, and please come up.
After years of successfully leading a major corporation, most folks would look forward to a downshift, cruising, playing golf, or at least something not as hectic as the corporate life they just left. Happily, that does not describe our next honoree, J.C. Huizinga, an entrepreneur, philanthropist, and civic leader who took his well-honed business skills and put them to work in the service of kids. Driven by a deep, abiding belief that every human being is entitled to the best education possible, JC built National Heritage Academies, committing his resources, his talent, and his love to underserved school children in Michigan. To succeed and to open up the field for others to create new education opportunities for students across the country, JC had to wade into politics. He taught many lawmakers why they should take the political risk to back challenges to the education status quo, even if it meant the loss of their jobs. Talk about a hard sell. But like the people who drove the American frontier, the word quit is not in JC's vocabulary. Thus, we are delighted to honor JC tonight with the CER Frontiersman Award.
Well, it certainly is a privilege to stand with you all in this room here tonight. You are the giants of education reform, and future generations will look back at nights like this and thank you and celebrate you for the work, the hard work you've done. Chris is right. I'd rather do than say. And so, going last and seeing how late the evening is, I'm going to truncate my remarks. I'll relinquish my time to Fernando and and to Governor Ricardo, and I do want to acknowledge the National Heritage Team, the men and women who are so dedicated to the children we serve. And isn't it truly all about the children? And our teachers, our principals, our staff members, and our service center employees, we are grateful to their hard work and their dedication. I also want to just acknowledge one other special person, my Miss America, Tammy Huizinga. Stand up, Tammy. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, for our final presentation, please welcome Julia Rosen and Phil Regan.
Are you sure you don't want to play the music again? Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the entire Arizona State University family, including ASU President Michael Crow, ASU Enterprises Chairman Rick Shangra, Phil, myself, and numerous others, it is a great pleasure to present this award to our dear friend and colleague, Deborah Quazzo.
The first time I met Deborah, actually, hold it, I have to go orthogonal for a minute, off script. Jeannie, I want to thank you for this imagery that we've seen all day. It says the road for innovation for One America clearly goes through Arizona, right? The first time I met Deborah, I can remember, it was January 2010, and we were invited up to Palo Alto to discuss with Mike Moe and Deborah, the idea for a conference, a convening at Arizona State that would bring together ed tech investors and ed tech entrepreneurs. Now remember, this is January 2010, so there were like 8 ed tech investors and many entrepreneurs. You know, we had this fantastic discussion and agreed SkySong would be a great venue for it. And we'd do it, and we'd pull it off in April, and Deborah and Mike would open up their Rolodexes for the investors, and that was a great idea because people still had Rolodexes, so it was great. And I remember sitting in the San Jose airport after that and saying, well, that will never work. Okay, that won't work. And of course, we had 350 people that first year. And this year, the 10th year that we'll do this, we'll have something over 5,000 participants in the ASU GSV EdTech Summit. That was the last time that I underestimated Deborah Quazzo. What I have come to find out about Deborah is that she is an incredibly smart, an incredibly savvy interpreter of the educational technology environment, which is rapidly changing. She is an amazing connector. We have benefited tremendously at ASU from her guidance and from the connections that she has helped us make. And she also, very importantly, has similar values to us. We are trying to knock down barriers to achievement in education. So is Deborah. We are assuming fundamental responsibility for the health of the communities that we serve, and so is Deborah. Whether that community is Chicago or Illinois or the US, and increasingly globally. And so we're incredibly connected to Deborah, and we appreciate everything she's done to benefit us and ASU and education in general in the US.
So I do remember that day when Phil told me in the airport that there's no way you can pull this off, and of course we all did. And Deborah, there is always a home for you in Scottsdale or in Phoenix, wherever you'd like to come in Arizona. But I'd also like to say that in addition to this very warm business relationship, we've also become very good friends on a personal level, supporting each other through some very difficult times. And so it's really not often that you can have someone who you admire so much professionally and also rely on so much personally. So it is our great honor to welcome Deborah Quazzo.
This leading lady of the education, technology, and global finance sectors has had a significant impact on the evolution of best-in-class products and services provided to students at all levels across the world. Deborah Quazzo believes that all ideas should be given a shot to prove their worth. She has put her know-how to use in boardrooms and through public service, taking the oft-thankless job of serving on a school board in Chicago, no less. That alone should earn her a Bronze Star. Deborah has no peer in her advocacy of women's empowerment and of ensuring diversity at the highest levels, or of her compassion and kindness for those in most need. As founder of GSV and the ASU GSV Summit, which turns 10 next April, this friend of innovation is a true visionary.
Okay, thank you so much. Like Fernando, I did not get the memo, so I stand between you and karaoke, so I'm gonna be very, brief. I want to start with thanking the ASU team deeply. Phil and Julia have truly become dear, dear, dear friends. A little over a decade ago, we partnered with Arizona State University, Julia, Phil, and President Crow. And to be honest, people thought we were nuts. ASU was not known at the time worldwide as a leading innovator, as a leading academic institution that it has become today, because no one understood what was going on under the hood at Arizona State University. President Crow has upended the concept of college is meant to be a place where people are excluded. Instead, he is developing an institution, a global institution, importantly, where it is ranked and known for the students that it includes and the students that it graduates. And that's a very radical concept in which we are very, very deeply proud to be associated with Arizona State University. They have been an incredible partner. And as you might imagine, it's hard to imagine being a partner with the largest public university in the country and having it be so smooth. So we're really, truly, truly grateful. I also want to thank Nia. She was absolutely beautiful. Her singing was incredible. And I got to say, I have got the biggest crown envy that you can imagine. I have always wanted to wear a crown. So, next slide. At GSV, our mission in all of our businesses, whether it's investing, advising, or hosting the ASU GSV Summit that Phil and Julia spoke about, our mission is that all people, not citizens, all people deserve equal access to the future. And we believe that the only way that you can actually access equal access to the future is through educational improvements, educational innovation, access, opportunity. And that is what we've been committed to for over 20 years. I've been a partner, my partner Michael Moe and I have been partners for 21 years, which is remarkable that we're both still alive, but we are. And it's been great, but we are deeply committed to that. And I think that on the serious and sobering side, for those of you who read the ACT report last week, which reported on the results of the ACT for 2018 across the country, our ACT scores for high schoolers actually went down. And if you looked at the map, it was deeply depressing, showing the lack of proficiency in large parts of the country, including my home state of Florida. I'm from Duval County, not from down here, but I'm from Duval. And it has got to put pressure on all the incredible leaders in this room that we can't slow down. We have to become more urgent, more focused, delivering better and better results for our kids, because we're just not making the progress that we need to do at the pace that we need to do it. So I am deeply grateful to Jeannie Allen. She is a true force of nature. Fernando, I'm with you on that one too. And she's just been a stalwart, a true wonderful friend, and a great leader of this movement. And so thank you so much, Jeannie.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we could please welcome back to the stage the founder and CEO of Center for Education Reform, Jeannie Allen. No?
No, not quite.
Maybe not.
I'm so sorry, Jeannie. No, I think my responsibility is basically to say thank you all for being here tonight. What an amazing night. Great 25 years. The next 25 years is going to be even more spectacular, exponential impact. I would like to welcome, I'd like to ask both the board for the Center for Education Reform to come up here, as well as all the honorees tonight, just to give everybody one last hand. And we're gonna see a karaoke down one floor below. And don't stop believing.